welcome to the Nostalgia Train Book Club for our April/May pick.
Spring pick.
Yeah, we'll put a positive spin on it for An Ember in the Ashes. As usual, I like that we introduce ourselves and say our history with the book. This book came out in 2015, so I think I'm a little too old to have read it as a teen, but I definitely had heard about it. I knew the hype around the book, but I couldn't have told you what it was about or any details. But yeah, it's one of those ones that's always been on my radar that I've just kind of known, oh yeah, that's a good book. I'll get around to it sometime. So that's me, Violet.
And I'm Anna. I was an avid BookTube watcher back in 2015 when this book came out. Before I stumbled into AuthorTube, I was obsessed with BookTube in its heyday, I think, of YA fantasy, and this was a big BookTube darling, rightfully so. So I think I probably heard about it from I don't know, Jessie the Reader or Emma Books or something like that. And yeah, so I read it, I think, shortly after it came out and just really loved it and read the first 3 books. I own the 4th, but I don't think I ever read it. I think I was too scared to read the 4th book. So I actually don't know how the series ends. So I'm excited that we reread it because it's been on my list of series to read for 5 years now, and now I'm on book 2, so the reread has officially been started. So yeah, that's me.
Nice. I'm Sam, and as with many Nostalgia Train books, this is my first time reading it. In 2015, I had just had my 3rd kid less than a year there, so I was just momming. I had no time to read.
Amen.
And I read this book this morning. So
yay.
That is my experience with the book.
Amazing. Well, first of all, I'm Mars. I got this book back in August of last year because I saw the new paperback edition. Ooh. And I could not leave the store without this.
So pretty.
Stunning. The spine, when you put all the books together, which I don't own the other books because buying an entire series is something I'm trying not to do if I haven't read it yet. But when you put all them all together, they make a cool picture. This is what the other ones look like. I had to get this. So I read it for the first time last September and really enjoyed it. So when it became a book club book, I'm like, well, I know I just read it less than a year ago, but I might as well reread it. So I did, and then I also have since read the second one because I read the second one in the series 2 weeks ago, maybe 3 weeks. Very happy with my decision to continue on.
Excellent.
Okay, so we've got a little bit of a mix here of new readers, rereaders, but you're like a new rereader, Mars.
Yeah.
So very cool.
Yeah, I will also show off do I have it here? Yes. I was just recently in the UK and we talked about a little bit on the Discord, the cover discussion, how the UK covers are my favorite. So I bought the second book in the UK covers.
Ooh.
And I'm so happy. She's so beautiful.
Oh, it is pretty.
Nice. Love. So I eventually want to collect them all in the UK covers, but we're just going to slowly but surely.
I shall put up the spoiler banner. I think sometimes when I do the book club discussions, I just jump into talking about it and don't really do a full, I don't know, little summary or talk about the plot, which maybe is something we should be doing at the beginning of these.
Yeah.
Because I have plot and pacing, but then I feel like we just always say our opinions and not really discuss what happened. Mm-hmm. So... I don't know, do you guys, what were you guys' thoughts on the plot? For me, it took me a minute to get into it, the setup with her and her grandparents. I was like, okay, I don't know where this is going. And for me to get hooked into it. I'm not sure how you guys felt.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think I remember feeling that when I read it the first time. But it has one of my very favorite tropes of all time, which is undercover spy, basically, like infiltration kind of plot. I'm a sucker for that time and time
love that
again.
too.
So I think that's one reason why I love the book so much.
Yeah, I definitely love a rebellion plot. So that's I mostly bought this for the cover, but also like even if it had a really good cover, I wouldn't have bought it if I wasn't interested in the plot too. So I'm like, ooh, an empire taking down an empire?
Yeah.
Sign me up.
I went in knowing absolutely nothing, and at first I was a little confused because it like went from her, and then it went to a guy's point of view, and I was like, "Is this her brother earlier in the night? Who are you?"
Oh.
And then it was like a woman with a mask, and I'm like, "No, that's not the main character." So it took me a little bit to figure out that it's like, okay, these are two different sets of characters. And I'm like, I got pulled in really quick and really easily because I was just trying to figure out what was going on. And then I got more and more intrigued. And like, there was so much mutilation and torture that was described. I was like, damn.
That's a very harrowing book.
Why is brutal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like,
I definitely got more pulled in when that second POV was introduced. I think just because like I read so much YA, I was like, oh, this is the love interest. But I feel like that the love, vibes were very mild
yeah,
in the book.
I was like, hey, love interest. But then like as it goes on, I'm like, was I wrong? Like I'm never wrong.
Yeah, Saba gets away with like a record number of love triangles in this book. It's kind of insane.
Can we talk about the romance? Are we there already?
We can, yeah.
I do not like the romance.
Why can't we like the romance, Mars? What's wrong with it?
I feel like Leia, whatever pronunciation we're going with, to me, she reads younger than 17, and I had to keep reminding myself that she was 17 and that Elias, is he 20? Did we look? We said he's 20, right?
I think he is.
And so in my head, it was like she was way younger, and I feel like it could have been a really cool exploration of a sibling type relationship, especially because she's trying to find her brother, and he could have been like not like a replacement, but like a filler there. I think that would have been so interesting. But I don't know. I don't hate the romance, but I didn't particularly like the romance elements.
Yeah,
I did. I liked the romance because I felt like it was very mild. Because it was like, oh, are they going to be a thing? And then it's kind of like they weren't being a thing. And it's like, oh, does he actually have a thing with Helene? Oh, maybe not. Maybe they're going to get together. And then that other guy, what's his name? Keenan came in. So there was kind of these like secondary options for them. So it never really felt like that was the main focus. It kind of felt like an underlying flirtation. Towards the end, it got a little bit more there, but still, I don't know. I liked it that it wasn't like full, romantasy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think in the first book, I definitely leaned more towards the romance between Helene and Elias just because of the angst. I think that kind of overshadows the romance with Maya.
I really shipped him and Aline until she started going off about they're just slaves, and I was like, oh yeah, no, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That was a hot take.
Yeah, very. Yeah, the characters only continue getting more complicated.
I don't know that I'm here for the primary romance, just because there wasn't a lot. Like, I'm not for or against it. I'm like, I am interested into the different ways that their relationship and their dynamic has taken form as like mild interests and then potentially familial, and then maybe just a little bit of a idealized crush, and then it's still not cemented by the end of the book, like where they are now, other than the allies on the run. Especially when she's all like, yeah, I'm sorry I had to threaten your life. And he's like, no, it's fine. You should have. You should threaten it again at some point. And I'm like,
I think I just liked it because we had time, like in each POV, to get to know the characters, and it's not like romance was either like high on either of their agendas. So, and in a lot of romance stories, it's very over the top. So.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the slow burn has more emphasis in probably like all the relationships, which is nice.
Yeah.
The pacing of the romance was well done, even if it's not my favorite pairing. I really just think it's Laya's voice for me, because I don't know what it is. She just reads really young in my head, and I'm like, this girl is a child.
Yeah.
She did read a little bit younger, but I guess I didn't see it as that big of a...
She read like a 17-year-old to me, so Elias read like he was 16. I don't know how old he's supposed to be, but I'm like, this young, naive boy who's grown up, and he should not be this naive for how he was raised. So I honestly have no idea how old he's supposed to be.
Kid is saying, I forgot it was so violent with the torture. Yeah. Romance because I think he had more chemistry with Helene. Yeah. In terms of pacing, I will say this book did multi-POV well with pacing. If in multi-POV books, we'll usually have one POV that messes with the pacing. Yeah.
That's a good point, Kit.
I like how they start off separate and how like they're their own different things. I feel like if they had started off more involved, I wouldn't have liked the split POV as much. But I like that we set up this whole section, and then we set up this whole section, and then we get to see them getting woven together. I think that's very well done.
I agree. It's because we already had like the concept of like the masks introduced in Laya's perspective, and then we see him and like, oh crap, he's like one of those guys. Oh shit! Like, I don't know. I really liked it as well.
Yeah,
I didn't think that it was going to go there. Yeah. I went in completely blind, so I didn't know what to expect.
I think that's like the total fun of the multi POV is when you see like character B like fly by in the background, and you're like, oh my god, there they are, you know, and then like they start making more appearances, like you said, Mars. It's fun to see them get enmeshed together.
Like when she's at the festival and she's like, oh, that tribe boy, and I'm like, that's him, right? That's
yeah.
Well, when we find out that she's gonna go to Blackcliff, I was like, oh, okay, this is how they're gonna cross over. But for a while, I was like, what is gonna happen here? Like, I don't know what's going on. So, yeah. Then it was exciting. I was like, okay, things are gonna. I don't know. I had my issues with the pacing were more of like my personal like thoughts about tropes than anything I think about the story itself. So,
in what way?
I don't know. I do have a trope banner because I feel like tropes is a big topic in this book that I want to talk about, because I felt like so many like YA tropes got introduced and subverted. And it was like throwing me off, like even like the introducing of the dual POV and not going directly into a romance, or, oh, we have this academy setting. Oh, but they're right at graduation. Like, it's like, oh, I thought we were going to academy story. No, we're not. Okay. Oh, no, wait, just kidding. A trial's getting introduced. Like, it was like all these tropes were there, but they were always a little bit like, oh, that's a rebellion, but it's already an established rebellion. We're not like starting a rebellion. It's already there. Like,
yeah. So
it really felt like there was these tried and true tropes, but they were just a little bit turned from the stereotype.
And that was something you didn't really enjoy as much, or?
No, it just kept me a little bit on my seat. So sometimes I was like, okay, we're at an academy book. And then I was like, oh, they're about to graduate. That's kind of cool. Like, what's going to happen next? So I liked it, but it did sometimes kind of push and pull me.
Yeah.
I think I've read enough 2010s academy rebellion books for the tropes to be ingrained in me.
Well, yeah, I just meant kind of like YA in general, just because I feel like those are really prominent YA or even just fantasy tropes.
One trope that
I don't know, because I've read a lot of YA and I've read a lot of fantasy and I've read a lot of YA fantasy, and I can't say that I've read a ton with those tropes specifically, but I do know they exist enough that like they are popular tropes. So I'm sitting here like, what haven't I read?
One trope that I really hate that this book has is the like lone woman in a organization of men,
Oh,
and we don't get an explanation for why like just the commandant was the only woman at Blackcliff when she went to school there, and now it's just Helene is there. Like, if we got an explanation for why only one woman was chosen,
they said only one is allowed.
yeah, but we don't get like we're not told why that's the rule. And if we were told why, I'd be like, yeah, sure. But like just the fact that we're supposed to accept this, it's a trope that I really don't like in.
Oh no, I hate it. I think it sucks. But
yeah, it didn't make sense. They didn't explain
it.
Why.
Like I might be more forgiving, but we just gloss over that fact, and I'm like, no, tell me why Helene is the only one.
I'm like, no, please tell me why is only one allowed? Like, but they're like, no, it's a sexist setting. Accept it, and I was like, I don't want to.
It does put a lot of pressure on Helene, which I think can be interesting, but I also don't see why like there couldn't be other female masks that, you know, were just happy to be part of the Empire and whatever, you know, like I don't really see the need for that rule.
They also
It could have just been mentioned vaguely in the background. Like it didn't have to be a big thing if she was the only prominent character.
Mostly
they
men,
shaded her not winning because she was like, oh, I made a deal that I would always basically be the second in command. And he's like, but what if you won? Like, he's like, you were very capable of winning. And she's like, no, the augur didn't see it in my future. And I was just like, sexism.
Yeah, that was a little bit weird. Yeah, maybe it does have something to do with the augurs, and I was wondering that too, but I don't exactly remember the detail there, so.
Speaking of the augurs and how they're all like, we can do anything but die, which, my God, that man, I projected such a depressed feeling from him when he said that. But because of the like how they had been setting up the augurs and how they were setting up Elias's like thing, I full on expected them to execute him and he just become an augur. I was like, wait,
that was a bit interesting.
Yeah,
I didn't think of that.
That I think would have been cooler than like explosion going off at the last minute. I was like, okay, you know, that's a little convenient.
The like not Jinn things, I forgot what they're called. Other than they were like, no, we're not Jinns because the Jinns were wiped out. We're the other thing, and because they were like, you guys have like special magic things, but like you'll only be useful to me after you die. So I need you to die so that you can then be useful. And I'm like, if they die, do they become augurs and then they're like more powerful? So I was like waiting for him to die and then become useful to the thing that his mom is in league with, but no, it did not happen.
I did like how what was I going to say, the fantasy elements in this, how they kind of like started out very light, like mythological, like I love like a setup like that. There were a lot of tropes in here I liked that. Oh, were Jinn real? I don't know. Or was it stories? I don't know. And I also like the trope that you mentioned, Anna, like her being like undercover spy.
Yeah.
I thought that was great. The only thing I didn't like about that, it didn't make sense to me that the mom was like so involved in her slaves' lives. Like that made no sense to me. I was like, if you had slaves, would you really care that much? I don't know. That just...
Yeah, the commandment?
She's running a whole school and she's so nitpicky about these things.
Yeah, and it seemed like, I was like, I don't know if that was the one thing that was a little unbelievable for me.
I took that as misplaced anger and frustration. Like, she can't take it out on who she's actually mad at, so she takes it out on who she has power over, which is very common for people who have power over other people.
Yeah, I took it as like whoever just happens to be in her path is going to get all of that energy.
To me, it seemed more than that, though. It seemed like she like...
I took some of the like physical mutilation as a weird way to protect some of her female staff, because she did like when she thought Lyra was being raped by a soldier, she like that genuinely seems to upset her. That like
Interesting.
she just has to let them do that to her female slaves and that she can't punish them for it. So I do feel like on a level she cares about the dynamics that way. And so she like some of the like facial mutilation might be a way to protect them. Not in a she's really empathetic and cares, but in a this is mine. I don't like other people touching it way. You know what I mean?
Damn. Yeah, I didn't think about it like that. That's
Yeah,
it's twisty.
Yeah, because like right after that, she's like talking to Lyra, and she's like, maybe I should have messed up your face. And it's like maybe that would have been better, and then you wouldn't have to deal with all that. And Lyra's like, no, I'm good. I'm good. Thanks.
Yeah.
But in that same breath, she wants some really nice swords from the blacksmith, and she's like, yeah, no, you can fuck my maid. Go ahead, just give me swords. So
Yeah, I don't know. She just seemed like too invested in their lives, like you know, like in like modern days, like how there's some bosses who like watch their employees on a security camera.
Oh yeah.
It gave me that vibes, or like gossiping about like them, and I was like, really? She has like this powerful position. Why is she meddling in the lives of slaves? Like, I get like, you know,
it's all about control. It's about power.
I don't know, but it just seemed like she was giving too much of her energy. Like you can have control without giving so much of your energy, being so personally invested. That was where it was like for me, like
I don't know. I think she also had the thingy spying on people. Like felt like part of how she knew things was those I need to figure out what they were called. The not-gens, like following people.
Excuse me.
It's the Night King thingy.
Not related, but for me, I didn't like how similar the two POV characters' names were. Okay, we talked about this backstage.
Oh my god! My dyslexia would have had a field day. I thought it was
they're slightly similar.
Yeah, they're good names. I like the names a lot. Maybe they shouldn't have been both the main characters' names.
Yeah, it would have. Yeah. Yeah.
Also, why are the scholars named the scholars? They can't read. They're like,
yeah, that's
something. Not the keepers of knowledge.
Oh, like, that's another trope that I love, though. Like, the secretly, like, you don't think I can read, but I can read trope.
Oh, I love that for her. I'm just saying, like, for a while, I just thought they were a faction of people. No, they're a race of people, and I'm like, why?
Yeah, I want to know if they like had a different name before the Empire came in, because it's the Martial Empire, but they also call themselves the Illustrians or something.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, they have a name. So is the scholars just like what they call them because they were these super smart, knowledgeable people, and they like erased their actual name? Like,
I think that's probably
bothering me.
I think that's what it is in my mind, because the scholars had the previous dynasty, I guess, or empire, whatever you want to call it, and then they were, pushed out by the marshals.
I am not against the simplicity of the namings. It's just that the scholars don't fit. The name scholar.
I think it's interesting as like anti-intellectualism kind of commentary, and now they've made scholar as opposed to something that's like good and wise. It's something that's devalued, and like, I'm not being very eloquent, but I think there's interesting commentary there.
Could be. Yeah, I think that too. That could be them just trying to devalue the word.
I'm trying to spoil myself while finding the name of what the not-gens are.
I spoiled myself a lot while reading the second book because it didn't answer the questions I wanted it to answer, and so I'm going to do it myself.
Yeah, I think I also got a little bit spoiled by one of the summary videos I watched. The person giving it like slipped up and said something, and I was like, that wasn't in book one.
Oops.
I think so. I was like, okay, I think I have an idea where this is going. um, Prose. Did you guys have any thoughts about the prose or writing style?
I really liked it. I really enjoyed it. I usually don't like present tense, but I think this is a big exception for me. And I found a lot of lines in the book actually that I like underlined as like, oh, that was a really great image or description. And I just like overall found it really accessible, but also beautiful at times. Like I had a couple of lines written down, like describing looking into the commandment's face is like looking into the flat, smooth surface of a gravestone. And I was like, ooh, that just evokes a lot about her character really quickly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like how it's detailed, but not overly so. Like, it's still very easy to follow. And, like, when you enter a new setting and you get, like, the description of it, it's not, like, bogged down in explaining things, but it still, like, fills out the area. I thought that was very well done.
Mm-hmm.
I feel the prose and writing style were so well done and clean that I 100% did not miss anything at ×3 speed, and I was convinced I would. So, I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I agree. I think she struck a really good balance with still having some beautiful language with being accessible. Kind of like when I touched on the tropes that she sort of subverted or like twisted some of the tropes. At times, the story felt to me, I was like, parts of this story could very easily be an adult fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
Or just, I don't know, something about the vibes of it, because like I said, it's like, oh, we're going to the academy, just kidding, we're graduated. And I was like, very easily you could have made a few tweaks and marketed this as an adult book.
Yeah, I actually thought it was an adult fantasy until like at one point because it just, there wasn't like, because typically the YA tropes that make a book in the YA category is coming of age, right? And stuff like that. And there wasn't really the coming of age, which isn't to say that all YA has to have that. That's just like the big thing in YA. And until like at some point he was talking about Lara and he's like, oh, a 17-year-old girl. And I was like, wait a second, how old are all of you? I didn't realize you were all babies. Hold on. I have to readjust some perspective. But
yeah, I think it's interesting now that like, you know, Fourth Wing was trad pubbed as new adult, I believe. And if this had come out today, would they be trying to angle it in that sort of area, like 19 to like, would they have aged Laya up and made her like 19? Because that's kind of how it feels.
Yeah, I'm sure that it was just pushed YA because, you know,
it was so hot at the time.
A female writer in YA was very hot also, like, at the time. So I can see that.
I'll say this does feel more appropriate to YA than a lot of books that were aged down for it at the time.
I don't know. We did talk about all that, like, torture and stuff in here.
YA is allowed to have a level of violence, okay? And like it wasn't describing festering or like certain descriptions I would personally reserve for adult novels, right? It was just very clean cut. I'm like, nah, it's fine. Teenagers can handle some gore.
Yeah, it feels very solid in being YA, but also like it could have been tweaked.
That's what I meant.
Yeah.
I think just because I don't know why it felt to me. I think just because maybe some of the trope subversions were so similar to what I read on adult novels that it kept feeling like, what? I just hadn't seen it done like that in YA before. I was like, I'm surprised I hadn't read this before because I don't know. It reminded me of several adult fantasy books that I've read.
Violet, do you realize they had the like ballroom dance scene, but not in a ballroom? At the festival.
I know. It was like, it was just, I don't know. I just really noticed that she was doing some interesting things. So,
I'm
and
curious.
even like I said, how she set up the magic of the world, and I don't know. I think it could have been.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious if, because there's this series, and then last year she put out a book called Air that's a sequel to the series, and I wonder if that's also YA or if that's an adult book. I haven't looked into it because I don't want to get spoilers, but I'm curious.
I'll Google.
It's okay.
Because I wonder if it follows the same characters or.
Oh, also, Jinns, rights, ghouls, Geist were the terms I found, and I could not find specifics for them without digging deeper. And I was like, I'll keep calling them the not Jinns.
It looks like Hair is also young adult.
Interesting.
Did you say air or hair?
I think both are acceptable. HEIR.
Oh, okay, air. Got it. Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of people in the past year since it came out are mad because it wasn't marketed as being a sequel to An Ember in the Ashes. So a lot of people were like not understanding a lot of things that were set up in the original series. And so yeah, publisher kind of dropped the ball on that. Like, I'm reading this series, so I'll have no problem when I get to that one.
Kit said that it's YA but with adult themes, and that confuses me.
So new adult.
Okay, yeah.
This is why I'm like, we just need to embrace new adult. Like, I just wish.
No,
Yeah.
you know what we need to do? We need to do the thing that anime and manga do, and it just go 14 plus, 15 plus, and it'll be fine.
Yeah, because I also have this feeling that new adult sort of like merged with romantasy. So like everything considered new adult is kind of romantasy, which kind of like.
Well, see, here's the thing:
is annoying.
People in publishing, especially, need to accept that an age category and a genre are not the same
yeah.
thing.
I want new adult to just mean 17 to 21
characters.
Exactly.
Because currently, see, the really big issue with YA, and it is a huge issue, is that it covers between the ages of 12 and 19. 12-year-olds and 19-year-olds don't typically have interest in the same reading levels.
Mm-hmm.
With no shade to either side. It's fine.
Unfortunately, marketing is just about selling books and not about creating categories for us to define the books. It's just whatever's going to make them the most money.
But like, for example, if we take Lockwood & Co. and we put Lockwood & Co. at like 11 plus, right? 10 or 11 plus. Then that signals to all teenagers, you may, and adults, that we may enjoy these. Children like below 10 or 11, probably not, but everybody else, yes. And then like Ember in the Ashes could be like 16 and up, right? So like, that is the big push that I am trying to make. For books to be labeled like board games. If we could just do that, it would save so much.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's not really effective how it is right now, the marketing categories.
I concur. When I was a teenager, the new adult section was, like Anna said, for like 17 to like 19, 20, 21. So, and that's where a lot of the books that I really liked when I was 17 were put. So, and then the 2010s happened.
Yeah, this was definitely a part of the big YA fantasy boom, I would say.
Yeah. Where marketers were like, hey guys, did you know that women in their 30s also like YA? Let's just target to them because they have wallets. And it's like, that's not you should do that.
Yeah, lines definitely got blurred. For sure.
Not naming any namings, cough, Akatar.
Oh
Akatar
my god.
was actually, hold on, no, I will defend it, and I believe that it was a victim of this era. What started this era was, okay, so we had Anne Rice's novels, right? And a lot of the Anne Rice readers, Twilight came out and they went to Twilight because it was like the closest thing to an Anne Rice novel that had been released in like a decade. And then publishing companies, like legitimately, they were like, oh, women in their late 20s to mid 30s will buy books like this. And that's when they started heavily marketing a lot of what should have been adult novels as YA. They weren't marketing to teenagers, though. They were marketing to adult women. And like teenagers, when they get caught in the crossfire. And then, like, you know, a lot of moms could bond with their teenage readers over these books, because that's what my mom tried to do. But like, me and Stephanie Meyer had beef. She has no idea we had beef, but we had beef. And like, there was a lot to it. And now YA has been like so fucking, it's such a mess. And there's like so many people arguing as to how to fix YA. Some people want it to be over censored. Some people want it to just not be censored at all. And it's like, we need the middle ground. If we look at any YA published like 2008 downward, then you're good. Because like The Outsiders, which we will be reading next month and stuff, deals with drugs and gang violence, and like somebody dies. It was a spoiler. I don't remember who, but I know somebody did because I was upset. Teenage Sam was very upset by this. So like, the Skies are also upset by this.
Wow. Damn.
Wow, that came so good through the speaker. Whoa.
Sarah J. Maas actually doesn't. If you go to like her website and everything, ACOTAR is not labeled YA anymore. It's labeled adult.
Yeah.
So I just think she was one of many authors in traditional publishing who, like, especially women, as Violet pointed out earlier, who were just like, oh, here's my manuscript, and publishing went, the
YA.
characters
It's for teenagers, yeah. It does seem like, yeah, women and adult
Yeah.
fantasy kind of got.
The fact that my first copy of Akamath I got from the library said Bloomsbury Children's on the back.
Yikes.
Because that's the division that published it. Crazy.
Yeah, that one is. What is going on? My computer is not letting me change the banners, so we're not having any banners. So it's just not letting me click on any. So that's cool.
But thank you for coming to my mini TED Talk on 2010s YA publishing. I give it routinely.
I did want to talk a little bit more about the plot, like, because we did have so many different elements, like what kind of things were you guys' like favorites? Like, what did you guys even think about the fact that there was sort of this tournament aspect or this rebellion aspect? Like, I don't know, what were you hooked on?
I hate the rebels. I never hate the rebels, but I hated these motherfuckers.
I think that's part of what's interesting. Kind of like Violet said, like taking the like, oh, we're from the resistance trope, and then kind of twisting it a little bit where, you know, Laya kind of gets screwed over by them because they have their own agenda. It's a little more mature to, you know, have everybody has their own goals and you can't always trust that they're going to serve your interests. I thought that was interesting. I think what really stuck out to me about this book, like a decade later, is the commandment or commandant, whatever, and how frightening she was the first time I read the book, and how I had this feeling that she was always looking over the main character's shoulder. I always was afraid that she was around the corner. And I think it's rare that a book character really like scares me the way that she did the first time I read this. And even the second time, I kind of couldn't remember when she does show up. And I was like, oh, are they going to get caught? Like, I definitely felt like there would have been consequences to getting caught.
Yeah.
I feel like my favorite aspect of the plot was the, like, fantasy elements to it. Like, the Nightbringer, is that his name? And, like, everything. I feel like it has an almost supernatural kind of vibe. Not the show, the word supernatural.
Yeah.
Like paranormal maybe is the word. Like, it didn't feel like heavy fantasy elements.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like wizards and dragons and stuff. It's like these kind of spirits and stuff. And
Mhm.
I really enjoyed like the way it was slipped in there.
Same. I especially love that, like, because not all of the characters could see the supernatural elements, that like there is this feeling that they could be anywhere and around the corner, and especially from Elias's point of view, because he can't see them. So you're like, your mom is probably spying on you right now, boy. What are you doing? Also, I'm convinced the redhead's the traitor. I don't care that he tried to save her. I'm convinced he's the traitor.
Mm.
Because I don't trust any of those rebels.
Yeah, I mean, they were kind of hard to trust. But I think that's what I liked about it most was that, yeah, that undercover aspect, and that it felt that she couldn't trust anybody. It felt like you don't know what anybody's up to. And I did like that the thing where she could read and nobody knew that.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, that just gets me every time. Like intercepting the letters, I was like, oh.
Yeah, I love the espionage.
I don't know. It was just cool. But I really also liked Elias's point of view too, in his struggle with Helene and that kind of like friendship dynamic.
I liked
Because that was a messy friendship.
I liked all of the students and their little dynamics between each of them. I thought that was so well crafted.
Yeah, and done so like efficiently too, because you don't get a lot of time to like build all those relationships. But then when you get to the trial where they all kill each other, like it's stressed out and sad, and I did feel the weight of all those minor characters.
Yeah, sometimes I don't like that when you kind of get dropped into an established group, but she did kind of do a pretty good job of making everybody stand out in their sort of role. So that by the time there was the trial, it was kind of like, what the hell?
I don't want this to happen. But they're all bad people.
That trial, when they all go head to head, that the first time I read it, like my jaw was on the floor, because like we had already established this as a book where like people are going to get hurt, people are going to die, but I don't think it really hit me that it could happen to anybody until that happened, and it was everybody. And I was like, oh,
yeah,
I see.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's why she gets compared to like a YA Game of Thrones, because even the main characters are not safe.
No, I agree. It was definitely well done. I quite enjoyed the book.
I would be so angry if I was the one twin. I was like, I had to kill my brother, and you two didn't actually had to kill each other?
Oh my god, right?
That's a big bullshit. His first and last word was I hated that motherfucker throughout this whole book, but that got me. I was like,
yeah, that was cutthroat.
I still don't feel bad for you, but damn, that gotta suck.
Like, damn, it got us a point.
How did you guys feel about that? Actually, like, kind of result. Marcus
strong.
Yeah, I mean,
they're not allowed any armor here, but she cheated. She took in the plot armor.
Yeah, I was like, when Helene didn't die, I was shocked, but like then I was like, well, we did already set up for this. We knew that she had this chainmail that wasn't going to get broken, so I can't be like mad that it happened this way. But I am a little bit.
That was the part that cemented for me that the augurs are not on anyone's side. Yeah. It's like they definitely have their own.
Yeah, they definitely felt like agents of chaos at times. Like, what the heck? Like,
yeah,
they have an agenda and they're using everybody else to do it. Kit has proposed a theory. I concur. I agree.
I think Cook is up to something, but I don't know what it is.
Everyone's always up to something.
So clearly something went down there, but I don't know
there's not a single person in this book who was not up to something.
The only thing I didn't like about the setup of Lia's parents is that like it was held from us, the reader, and then when she tells like the alliance, I was like, why didn't we know this though? Like before, that's where it felt a little YA to me, where she's sort of like, "Well, my parents," and I was like,
No,
"Oh, come on."
To me, that's just that is a well constructed, like unreliable narrator, because then you're like, even though I'm in their
Well
head,
constructed.
they don't. That to me, yes, because like it's not something she was focusing on. It's not something she was thinking about the whole time. It was like something she was actively trying not to think about or to deny. So, because
I don't know. To me, it felt the one thing that felt really YA was like some of the Lia moments, and that was one of them.
maybe it is more prevalent in YA than adult, but I still don't think that's a bad thing necessarily. Because like as a reader, I think we get a little too comfortable or like entitled to having all of the information, so we can miss things a lot of time that's there. It's just in between the lines, and I like when not all of the information is presented to me and I kind of got to figure things out. So
we knew that she had complicated feelings about the rebels. What are the resistance?
It was pretty early on in the book. I don't think.
I'm trying to remember like how I don't exactly remember how she thinks about it in context of like when she's suspicious that Darren
her brother.
is working with them. Like, would that have been an opportunity for her to be like, oh, and maybe he's trying to follow in our mom's footsteps? Like,
yeah, that's what I thought it was going to lead to. But then like she kind of dropped it, and I was like, it felt like that would have come up before in her thoughts about it. Or I don't know, maybe just because it felt like even when she first arrived there, that she kind of waited till the moment to be like, well, I'm playing my, big card here. Well,
you've fallen for my trap card.
Yeah.
It could be.
I'm actually somebody important.
Yeah. There are a few.
I read it at ×3 speed, so that could also be affecting my thing of it was very early on. Who knows? But
yeah, there are definitely reveals that feel a little tiny bit convenient, but I'm happy to give a pass. Kind of like Helene revealing her bulletproof vest and the like final explosion going off at the very last second. It's all very a little convenient.
You have to remember, like, this is a book. They're gonna do things to make the plot
of course.
how they want it.
It has to be a little bit convenient at times, but that was just one thing. But I don't know. The introduction of her parents' backstory was like, I don't know.
I did wonder why she didn't like start with that out the gate, when she meets them, instead of like holding it until it looks like they're literally going to kill her. And then she's like,
yeah, that was the part where I was like, but it did add some tension when she got to the academy, where it was like, ooh, who betrayed my mom?
Yeah.
Like what was going on? What really happened? That was interesting. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Do you guys? Oh wait, are my banners gonna work again?
Woo!
Of the themes, symbols, and motifs. Any ideas?
Don't trust anybody.
Trust for sure.
Oh, there was something I wanted to add about Elias's POV. I felt so bad when he thought that she was being punished for no reason other than like she's connected to him, and I'm like, he don't know she's a spy, and then she got caught. This poor boy blaming himself. So stressed.
Yeah, I think guilt is a huge theme of the book for both Lia and Elias.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of prejudice, definitely, and bias, and how it can like blind you to people.
And I also think the two characters, they both have this very sort of complicated mother dynamic because Wyatt lost her mom and felt like her mom kind of chose the resistance over her. And then Elias and his mom, that's all levels of.
Mom, I tried to turn you in the womb. I tried
Yeah,
to turn you out the womb. I went back to hunt you down.
That's a whole other can of worms. So they
Yeah.
both sort of have like mommy issues. I don't know if that can be considered a theme.
Freedom.
I would agree.
Freedom is a big thing, whether it's like symbolic freedom, literal freedom,
Mhm.
like mental, physical, spiritual. They're like all different freedoms.
One thing that I wish was more of like a symbol in the book is the title, because we get it twice dropped in the
Yes.
text, which I
Yes,
love. I
yeah.
love when the title is pulled directly from the text. But like maybe if we had more visuals of like fire and ashes, it would have been a little bit more not impactful, because it was impactful. I just wanted to see it throughout the story a little bit more and not just the augur coming
Mhm.
out and saying, "This is you, man."
Yeah.
I liked it. I liked it because I feel like it set up mystery for the rest of the series. And I like that the first time he dropped it, that it was to Elias and not to Elia. Because I was like, what? He's the ember in the ashes? And then later they tell her she's an ember in the ashes. And I was like, oh, okay.
Embers. See,
We're
but
two separate embers.
Two separate
we
embers.
couldn't have a strong visual though, because an ember in ash is very weak. He's got
Yeah, so I don't know.
grow.
When they dropped it the first time, I was like, oh, what?
I was like,
I wasn't
"Oh,
expecting it to be in the actual text. I'm like, oh, that's just a really cool title. No, they say it out loud. I'm like, oh,
Yeah,
I like that a lot.
it was a good title drop as far as title drops go, in my opinion.
Mhm.
I don't care how cheesy the drop. I always love a title drop. I'm like, I don't care if it's well done. I don't care if it's terribly done. It always.
I don't know what a bad done ones I don't like. So
I feel like they don't do it enough anymore. Like titles are all like this, the blank, the princess, and the whatever, or like all these like metaphorical things. But like you can still say it in the text clearly because this is a metaphor. But I want more books to actually have the title in the text of the story.
Mhm.
I don't want to go on a huge tangent. I kind of talked about this, I think maybe in the Discord, about the Hunger Games, Sunrise on the Reaping. I hate that title, and they dropped it in that book, and it pissed me off.
What
So-
was the title?
Sunrise on the Reaping. And, yeah, it's just
I mean,
ugh. I really felt shoehorned in there to me.
you gotta have a good title to have a good title drop.
Yeah, you do.
And so many people liked it, but I was like, oh no. I thought
I
Suzanne
can't
Collins dropped the ball on that one, but
I can't think of good context for Sunrise and Reaping to be a thing. So
I'm just glad they didn't stick with the like noun of noun and noun convention.
Mhm.
Like, okay, good job recognizing your mistake. I'm glad you moved on.
yeah.
they were running out of nouns.
Mhm.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting an ember in the ashes to come up in the text at all. So
Yeah.
it was a happy surprise. So and it fit so seamless. So
I wonder if it came first as the title and then she wrote it in, or if she wrote the book and then like her editor or publisher or something was like, we could call the book that.
yeah. That's a great question,
Yeah.
actually. Call in.
Call it
Yeah, call in if you're listening. Of course, I know we have 2 viewers, and I'm sure they're both Kit. But
Let me just call her real quick. Boop, 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 boop.
Okay, well, that's my last discussion topic. So I don't know if you guys have any more to say on that or anything else with the story.
I think the only other note that I had that we haven't touched on is just the world building. like I really enjoyed, and I remember I did go back and read like the first couple chapters of this book a couple years ago when I was gonna do like a video on world building and how not to info dump on readers when you're literally building a world from scratch and you have so much history and context to introduce. And I thought the first couple chapters of this are really like a master class in building such a complex society so quickly and not like throwing it all at the reader.
Yeah, I also enjoyed the way she paced out information about the world.
The
It felt
silver masks are terrifying.
yeah, it felt very well rounded and very well done.
Like
So,
not the people, the masks themselves, because they
Yeah.
because they meld to the face.
yeah, into the like when she took his off that one time,
Yeah.
he had blood. I was like, okay.
I'm not touching that.
Yeah, there was just so many like details like that in this book that I feel like made it really nice.
Yeah, just the fact
But
it was so normalized from his point of view to the point like his classmates and stuff, they were basically like, hey, it's not embedded in your body yet. You suck.
Yeah. Why are
like-
you wearing your leech?
And, yeah, why aren't you letting your leech like mold with you? And then like she goes to take the mask off and she's horrified because she's like, oh
Yeah.
God, I didn't realize. And he's like, it's fine. Like, so I like that it kind of shows that even like within the world, they're so separate from like things that the one only I think the mask actually know how connected their parasite is to them. So also, are the masks alive, or are they just made of a weird silver that biologically fills to you? I need to know.
Yeah. Unknown as of yet.
the fact that you guys have like read on in the series and have not like dropped any spoilers, I'm very impressed.
Thank you. I turned on my computer. I was like, okay, book one.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. So
Yeah. I'm only
Because a lot of times when somebody
the mask
knows more information, I'm always like, oh, they're gonna accidentally slip something like that recap video I watched.
Well, I got
They just referred to a character in past tense who is still alive, and I was like, oh,
that's rough. When I was rereading book one, I was watching someone's live stream. They were like sprinting, and I mentioned that I was reading it. And the person whose stream it was, I'm not going to say who it was because I don't want to like. It's not personal. This person was very excited that I was reading it, and she went, "Oh, this is my favorite character. I'm so sad they didn't get a happy ending." What?
Was it the twin?
like in the whole series, the end the series not getting a happy ending, and I'm like,
bro,
thanks, I guess.
Yeah, that's tough.
And like, there's no details given, but like just knowing that.
Yeah, I know. That's
like,
its own kind of.
Especially if you said in your comment, like, I'm reading it for the first time. Like,
I think I said I'm rereading the first one so that I can then read the rest.
Oh, well,
it sounds pretty clear to me that spoilers should not be given.
I will say that like a lot of people have different definitions of what a spoiler is, but here's the thing. A spoiler by definition is any information that spoils the experience for somebody else. So like my spoilers can be extremely vague. Like nobody gets to judge what I consider a spoiler or not. And so,
yeah, some people like going in totally blind without knowing the
that is me. I don't
that
even
cover.
We all know. I barely read the titles.
Yeah.
Yeah, this one I didn't read. I had no idea what I was
this one is
going
called
into.
Candle in the Wind, right?
I'm just like, what book are we reading? Aha, yes, I've never heard of this one either. Did I get the right author?
I'm usually pretty forgiving on spoilers out of context. I would rather have someone give me a specific spoiler with no context rather than a vague spoiler like I was given.
I want neither.
I spoil myself a lot. Like, I'm very fond of Googling things to find out if I'm correct ahead of getting to it in the book.
No, I want to find out in the most.
Oh, I'm the worst if I'm reading like a complex like sci-fi or fantasy book where like especially if I'm doing it on audio, I need to look up like the names and character descriptions, but sometimes those spoil things about the characters. I'm like, oh,
But
I just wanted to see how the name was spelled.
Like, let me look up this guy, and it just like autofills death, and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
See, I need to know absolutely nothing because, like, my subconscious will not forget. And then, so, like, even if it's out of context or even if it's something that technically doesn't spoil anything, my brain will figure it out. And then I will get upset because I'm like, but would I have figured that out on my own? You know, I've stopped caring when I start looking things up. Like we've been watching My Hero Academia to like catch up to where it is in the series, and like a fight will start, and I'll be like, "Does so and so die?" No, I'm so upset with that series. I'm like, I need to know now who's going to die. But
yeah, I would like to continue on in the series.
Yes, so tell me.
Just because I feel like of some of the nostalgia train YA books we've read, like this was a really solid one. So
Yeah, very
I
strong.
think it has some promise. And it did how it left off the first book and everything set up in the book really sort of leads you to want more. It very much felt like a first book in a series.
Yeah.
A lot of unanswered questions.
Yeah. I have on my my 2025 bingo board to read a series, so I think this is going to be the one that I focus on finishing by the end of 2025, which I'm very slow, so that'll be very exciting for me.
Yeah, one of my goals for this year is to finish more series than I start, and let me tell you, it is not going well. We are only in the first half, so I have faith that in the second half of the year I can pick it up a little bit.
I need to know. I need to know if the redhead was the double agent. I need to know if Cook is the mom. And I need to know just a lot about the supernatural elements of it. Are the augurs working with the Nightbringer? Are they working against the Nightbringer? What the fuck are the augurs?
Yeah, what are the augurs?
What's the augur agenda?
Yeah, because apparently they're just immortals.
Yeah, they're just these guys that live in a cave and don't die.
Yeah,
weird, but all right.
Can we make more augurs?
Ooh.
And why does Helena and our boy Elias need to die to be useful to the Nightbringer? But also, if that is the case, why is he and the commander keeping them alive? Well, okay, she was looking to kill her son at every turn, but that's neither here nor there.
That has nothing to do with Nightbringer. That's her own thing.
No, that's her own thing. She's got hella issues. Also, who is his dad?
That's a good point. That was also an unanswered question, wasn't it?
And his grandpa's a dick. I'm gonna just say that because we haven't mentioned the grandpa at all. So definitely.
Well, the grandpa at least was there for him.
No, he can't give a grandpa a pass just because he was a decent grandfather. He was a shit dad. Like, he was such a shitty dad. His daughter tried to kill her son.
Yeah, okay, but like you have to I think from like Elias's point of view, who like had kind of been in like this foster family situation.
Like grandfather.
Yeah, he doesn't like his grandfather, but I don't know. I liked him. I kind of like a sort of older, like in the establishment, but like biased towards your own bloodline character. So I don't know.
Conceptual.
Again, because that's something you see a lot in adult fantasy. You see characters like the grandfather. So I found him like, oh yeah, it felt very not YA to me. Have this sort of morally gray.
I can't enjoy a male character who is so shitty to his daughter, but the minute he gets a male grandson is like, this is God's gift to the world.
I don't know. I just love like a shitty entitled like character
Mhm.
sometimes, so I did
Yeah.
have a time and place.
As long as it's acknowledged, he's a terrible person. I don't.
Yeah. I wasn't saying he's a great guy or like Grandpa of the Year, but in the narrative, I found him delightful just as a reading character to read about.
Fair, and I can give you that. Yeah.
So, um,
We love someone who is biased against their own bloodline.
Yeah, it's so
No, he's
interesting to have him be like, yeah, my spawn is evil. Like, I've always known this. She's horrible.
Oh wait, are we talking about the mom? Yeah.
Yeah.
but to be fair, she was kind of
She
it was kind of horrible.
She's like, I hate the bloodline that came before me. I hate the bloodline that came after me.
Yeah.
She is the fairest of them all.
Yeah, it was definitely an interesting family dynamic going on there.
Mhm. Yeah.
You know, the best parents, the grandparents who died at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that was really sad. Again, I didn't think that was going to happen. I was like, wow, the grandparents, did they just kill him off? I like had to reread that. I don't know why I did turning the page. I was reading on my e-reader at that point. So
I was like following along.
They killed her grandparents, and I was like, that's how it's going to be okay.
I was like, what? Did they really just kill him? And I was like, yeah, okay.
It's like, I am strapped in.
I barely just got attached to them. Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, does anybody have any closing thoughts? Or that was pretty much it.
I feel like
Ember in
we
the
covered
ashes.
our ground.
Great. I'm going to remove the
Yeah.
spoiler banner.
Thank you for introducing this book to me.
Yeah.
Agreed. It was a great pick.
Thanks for reading it with me and giving me the reason to finally do this reread of the series that I've been meaning to do for like half a decade. So
Yeah, and thank you also for coming all together. Even though we were like late and a little bit in shambles with the live show, you know, we still made it work.
Yeah.
So sometimes I forget about the live show. I like always read the book and then I'm like, oh crap, yeah, we have to talk about it.
Yeah, I'm always worried that I'm annoying when I pop into the server and I'm like, so when's the stream gonna be?
No, it's good because I just don't Discord that much. So like sometimes I forget to be like, oh yeah, I should mention that. Speaking of which, we do have a pick for June, The Outsiders.
By S.E. Hinton.
Ooh.
So this one is a little bit of like a modern classic now.
If memory is correct, it is a relatively short read. So
Yeah, I left my copy on the other side of the room, but looking at it, it's probably like 200 pages.
that sounds about right.
I think I have a copy as well.
I have like an
So-
anniversary edition. It's very pretty, but it also has
Oh.
tooth marks in the front cover from an animal of some sort. I got it out of a little free library. I assume someone's like cat bit it or something.
An animal of sorts.
I thought you were going to be like animal of sorts, side eye at Gremlin, side eye.
If anything, it'd be Chloe. Chloe loves to like pull my books off the shelves and everything. She's a menace.
Yeah, so we still have some good reads coming up the rest of the year. We are hanging in there. So does anybody have any also closing words, promotion, or anything like that?
I will be having a book talk to talk about Night Embrace by Sherilyn Kenyon at 7:30-ish tonight, depending on when I finish the book.
I'm doing sprints tonight because it's Sunday.
Woohoo!
I want to
Awesome.
be productive. I don't think I'll be productive, but
The Storyteller's Hearth Weekend Relay. We need hosts to apply. I meant to promo it last week, but a migraine took me out all week, so
Oh, I'm sorry.
that's all right. So if you guys haven't applied already, please do so and let all the peoples know.
Sounds good. And I will have a little sprint on Wednesday night because it's the last Wednesday of the month. So yeah, I'll be working on a revision plan for the book that I finished in April. So it's exciting.
Ooh, exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks again, everybody, for joining me, and hope to see some readers for the next one. Bye.
Bye.